Hi everyone, and welcome to a video where we're going to look at the best-selling utes and their tow capacities. Now, what's on the market? Well, you've got the Ford Ranger, the Toyota Hilux, the Mitsubishi Triton, Nissan Navara, Isuzu D-Max and VW Amarok. And the Mazda BD50 is missing off that list because it's the same specs as the Ranger, so I won't compare it directly, and this is only the top selling medium ute, so no Rams, LDVs and that sort of thing. Now I'm going to put up here the sales figures for January to April for all four-wheel drive variants, starting off with the Ranger at 9815, closely followed by Hilux, then there's the Triton about a bit more than halfway through that, then the Navara, and then the D-Max closely following Navara, and then the Amarok. Alright, so the big question here is which specs to compare, because you've got four-wheel drives, you've got 4x2s, you've got high spec, low spec, dual cab, extra cab, all sorts of things. So I've taken the most common specs, which is four-wheel drive, diesel, automatic, dual cab and mid specification. Alright, so let's start with the claimed maximum tow capacities, which is what the manufacturer says the maximum the vehicle can tow is, and they can all tow this in very specific circumstances which are not representative of the real world. Alright, now I'm also including here the maximum towable capacity, and that will be 10% of the maximum tow unless otherwise noted. So at the top we've got Ranger, then Hilux drops a bit, Triton at the bottom, Navara, D-Max, and then third place for the Amarok. Now the Ranger can tow 3500, so can D-Max, so can the Amarok, but I'm putting that in third place because it's got a 300 kilogram towable maximum as opposed to what really should be 350, 10% of the load. Navara, same sort of thing, but it's in addition to a max TBM of 300, there's also the Nissan GVM limit, which I've explained in another video. And the Hilux can do 3200. If you're thinking it can do 35, that's the manual only, not the automatic, which we're comparing here. And the Triton is good for 3100 as the smallest ute here. Okay, so equal first, Ranger and D-Max, then Amarok, Navara, and then Hilux and Triton. Alright, now we're going to look at GVM and maximum tow capacity versus GCM, which is gross combined mass. So again, we've got our tow car and trailer there. So we're going to take the maximum manufacturer's rated tow and the GVM, the gross vehicle mass, the maximum it can weigh, and compare the sum of those two against the gross combined mass, which is the maximum the two are legally allowed to weigh. So Ranger goes right to the bottom for that, then Hilux, and Triton, Navara and the Amarok. So let's look at exactly what those figures mean. So the Triton has a gross combined mass of 5,585 kilograms. It has a GVM, the maximum it can weigh, of 2,810, and the maximum it can tow is 3,100. So that means that there is a 325 kilogram difference between its GVM and its tow rating combined compared to the GCM. Now for the Navara, 5910 GVM, and then that's a 500 kilogram difference. Hilux, 550. Amarok, we're getting higher up with the GCM now, but the Amarok's a slightly heavier vehicle. So therefore also it's got a larger GVM and a max tow 3500, and that's a difference of 580. D-Max now, difference of 600, and in the Ranger it's got the highest GVM here, but it's also the highest tear weight, it's got the highest GCM, and it's got a pretty big tow rating, and that's 700 kilograms difference. Now if you're wondering if there's any vehicle on the market which actually has the sum of the GVM and the max tow same as the GCM, well, yes there is. So here's the question: which cars do have a GCM which is equal to the gross vehicle mass and their maximum tow rating? Well, here's one, the Land Cruiser 200. You can see there GVM at 3350, max tow 3500, add the two together 6850, and that is exactly what the GCM is. Same is true of the Nissan Patrol Y62, but again you got that Nissan towball guidance which may vary your figures a little bit. And also the Land Rover Discovery, the 3 litre version, has a 3170 kilogram GVM, max tow 3500, and again that totals the same as the GCM. Now with the Discovery, the 5 and the 7 seat versions do have different weights, and so does the smaller engine than the 2 litre, but in all cases the GVM and max tow do equal the GCM. So you may notice that all of these 3 vehicles are the larger wagons, and they all seem to have the right sums as far as GCM is concerned, and that's no coincidence, and that's one of the reasons why I tend to recommend that people buy large wagons to tow heavy weights with as opposed to utes. Alright, so let's now look at the maximum trailer weight and the tow car at GVM. So that means that we got our ute and trailer again, and we're going to put the vehicle at its GVM and say how heavy a trailer can it tow. So moving up from the bottom is Ranger into 4, Amarok moves up, D-Max moves up a bit, Navara right to the top, Hilux down, and Triton down there. Alright, so what does that look like? So when the Navara is at its GVM, it can tow a 3-ton trailer, Amarok just behind that, D-Max 2900, Ranger 2800, Triton 2775, and Hilux 2650. So that's the maximum trailer you can tow when you've loaded each one of these utes to its absolute maximum. Alright, so now let's look at how much payload you can carry at a trailer maximum. So we're going to say, right, here's the maximum the manufacturer claims the ute can tow, and how much payload can you put onto it. So Navara goes down, Amarok comes in 4th place, D-Max, Ranger right at the bottom, Triton leaps to the top, and then we've got the Hilux. Now I've put over here how much they can tow, because obviously the Triton towing a 3100 kilogram, weighing 3100 kilograms with a payload of 635, you know, the D-Max has a lower payload, but it's actually towing more, so that's something to bear in mind. But what this shows is if you are going to tow what the manufacturer claims is the maximum towing weight, how much little payload you've actually got left. Alright, so now let's flip that around and let's say how much payload can we take with a given trailer mass. So we've got a 3000 kilogram trailer fixed for all the cars. How much payload can we take? So Triton drops down a bit, D-Max leaps to the top, Hilux drops down, Amarok comes up, Navara to the bottom, and Ranger occupies 2nd place. Alright, so that means that the D-Max, when towing a 3000 kilogram trailer, can have a payload of 785 kilograms, Ranger 700, Amarok 676, then 660, 600, and 579. With an asterisk there because of the Nissan TBM limitation, it would have done a bit better without that. So that is exactly the same 3000 kilogram trailer, and that's how much payload you can fit in. And the TBM does count towards the GVM, but it may not reduce effective payload because generally these vehicles are GCM limited, not GVM limited when you add up all the maths. Okay, so let's flip that around again and let's go for a 700 kilogram payload. How much can we tow? So here we've got a car, we're fixing the payload at 700 kilos, and how much can we tow there? Now on the TBM, the towable mass does come out of the payload, or rather it was in effect reduces the GVM. However, I am just putting a 700 kilogram load onto each car, and on top of that I'm going to add whatever the towable mass is, because when you are loading a car you're more concerned about, I want to put 700 kilograms of stuff in it yet also be under the GVM, so I'm making that sort of artificial lowering of the GVM allowance to allow for the TBM. Alright, so D-Max goes to position 3, Ranger to 1, Navara down, Hilux comes up, Amarok goes up, and Triton down. So let's have a look. So when the Ranger is having a 700 kilogram payload, it can tow 2905 kilograms, and there's the Amarok, Hilux, Navara and Triton. Now if your TBM is less than 10%, those figures will vary a bit, but I'm using a 10% tow ball mass calculation of the trailer max for the purposes of this demonstration. Alright, so let's take a look at the overall numbers then and see what they tell us. Well, the D-Max has done pretty well. It's a really great all-rounder, and it wins the numbers battle largely because it's got a pretty big payload, fairly high GCM, and it's a fairly light vehicle. Not that you want to tow a light vehicle, but this is why it's done reasonably well in the numbers. The Triton has, I think, punched well above its weight, and well done to Mitsubishi for a sensible tow rating of only 3100 as opposed to pushing it to 35, but beware the extended overhang, which is the short wheelbase, and therefore the rear wheels are set relatively close towards the front wheels, not great for towing. The Amarok has got a high GCM and can tow 3500. The only really black mark against it is the relatively low tow ball mass, really should be 350 not 300. The Navara is a relatively small ute. It is limited by TBM. Again, it's got the same limitation as the Amarok, slightly low on TBM, and it's got the Nissan TBM issue in addition, which I've explained in another video. The Ranger has got good numbers, but it is a larger ute. It is the heaviest here, and that's why it doesn't do as well as you might think. And in particular, its GCM is a little bit low for its 2200 tear. And the Hilux, well, the numbers are kind of relatively low all round there. Now, there is no winner here, there is no best. It really depends on what sort of towing you want to do, how much load you want to put in the car, how much load you want to put in the trailer, how much the accessories, all sorts of things. This is just to give you an idea of relative comparisons there, and help you with whatever purchase and buying decision you're going to make. Now, 4 things to know. 1, this is only an approximate comparison. There's all sorts of different unload and weight definitions, curb, tear, and each manufacturer's got a slightly different one. Each type of vehicle will have different weights, whether it's automatic, manual, petrol, high spec, low spec, diesel, different types of diesel engine. It all makes a difference to the weight and therefore to the calculations, and the accessories modifications need to be factored in as well. Whatever happens, you must never exceed GVM, GCM, TBM or rear axle load. If you're not sure what those mean, please watch my other videos and I'll explain it all in excruciating detail. And third piece of advice is do not tow to the maximum with any of them. Always ramp it down by about 20% and then you should be safer to tow. And the fourth thing is please subscribe to my channel and follow me on Facebook for more on four-wheel drives, cars and towing.